Football fall camp is here, and it's the 9th year for the head coach and the head coach role for this guy. Head coach Nick Hills will preview fall camp, which first practice will officially begin tomorrow as we record this. Coach Hill, you ready to roll, brother?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's an awesome time of the year for football coaches, around the country, really. Just thinking about the fall and fall camp, really looking forward to just getting into the routine. The summertime is great, but there's something about training camp where it's, every morning, same time, long days, really where you get an opportunity to solidify and build your team and go through the adversity of camp. They're long days, but you find out a lot about the guys that are in that room. And so I'm excited for this team. Year 9, we had a recruiting dinner last week, and telling them this is my 15th training camp with Saluki football, which is a long time. Makes me feel old, but appreciative. No place I'd rather be than right here.
Were 3-a-days done by the time you were a player, or did you have 3
No 3 days, but definitely I kind of have seen all the transition to where it was 2-a-days as many times as you wanted, hoping that Coach Kill would not have a 2-a-day some of the days, and then the rules got put in place where you could only have so many a week.
Yeah.
And then I was coaching they were really starting to get cut down, but you could still do them like twice a week or however many you could have in camp, and then they did away with them. So I think it's been good, though. I mean, I think for the fan, you're still like a player's schedule. We're in the building by players really from 6 to 6:45 is breakfast. They got to be ready to go for a team meeting at 7 o'clock. The first week we'll practice in the afternoon, but they're still here in the mornings, and you really can get a lot of things done through your walkthroughs and what the rules allow. So we're out on the field twice a day. Some of it is more in a controlled walkthrough setting, but a lot of teaching takes place in those. So you've substituted that practice for meetings and walkthroughs where honestly, it's been a good thing. You can get your guys ready to go, and you can keep them healthy.
Is there something as a player, Coach Hill, when you think of 15 different training camps during your time here, is there something that's carried over your time as a player that you enjoyed fall camp as a player to now as a coach? Is there something that's kind of similar that you've always enjoyed through the years, or has it evolved, of course, now being the coach role?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think it's even my time in pro football, I think it's just the camaraderie with the guys. I mean, rarely do you ever get to go through something where it's camp. You think of anything where it's church camp or whatever. It's the dining halls, it's the team meals, it's the team building. I can still think back at where in this building we would do our team buildings with Roger Leip. The breakfast, the waking up early, the getting out of the parking lot, and seeing all your guys coming in, and the post-practice. I mean, I think all the time I'll still get a text from Mike Farrell, our center, those 2-a-days, and we had to get out there super early for center quarterback exchange, and we'd look at each other and be like, 3 hours, we'll be in the shower and we'll be eating. Like, we got to grind it out, And so you just think about all those times. And I remind our guys that you will miss this time. It's hard, and which is good, but you will look back on, okay, I don't have football in my life anymore. What would you go back to do? It's really in those shared hard experiences with the team.
Let's get to your team now this year, Coach Hill. When I think back to how last year ended when we were talking with you in Idaho, no doubt there was a sense of major disappointment in how it ended. And we had a tone of there were a lot of things that you accomplished that were good last year. But you also told your team pretty quickly after that this isn't the goal. This isn't the end game where we want to be. We made strides, but there's more we want to accomplish. How would you describe the chip on the shoulder? I know that's kind of cliche, and everybody likes to say it. Their program has the chip on the shoulder. But for you guys, what more do you feel this group wants to prove this year? After last year, you showed that you can compete with anybody in the country. It's now making those few tweaks to close out some of those games that would have made last year drastically different.
Yeah, I think it's you do, and I think that as a team, and tonight we have, we report to camp today, and I think that's individually you've got to whether you describe it as finding your chip and having that chip on your shoulder. I think that this is a new team, and this is what we did last year. That will not be brought up from today or this summer, and it's about how we develop this team. There'll be a whole new slew of adversity and games in which we have to be prepared for. So I think it's about, there's a lot of players that were on that team and in that locker room that need to fuel those tough times to where, like, we don't want to have that feeling anymore. So I think it's just for us to create the standard about which we need to operate each and every day. And the goals in which will flash up on the board today, but then we put those things to bed, and it's really, our goals are about every day, and that's the boring thing, and getting 18 to 23-year-olds to buy into that process, I think, will then make the difference. So, I mean, we have to make, if we want to finish better, and I've talked to our coaches about this, then, what do those last 12 plays of practice look like? And that's why I want us to practice in the afternoon, and I'm glad that the heat's raising this week, and we can get out there. If we want to say we want to finish the season better, well, how do you practice that in August? The end of the season's in December. Well, we got to create those times now to see how our team finishes everything that we do, and how do we finish training camp? How do we finish the week? How do we finish all of those things to try to instill that in us? And then when we get in that opportunity during the season, we're prepared for it.
Defensively, no question, was such major strides a year ago, and I don't want to necessarily put it all on one person, but Antonio was a huge piece of that and what he did, and especially being thrust in the situation like he was a year ago. How important, I mean, this is kind of an obvious question with an obvious answer, but staff continuity is so important. I feel even more so at our level, Coach Hill. How important was it to really keep so many key guys like Antonio in place to keep building on what you guys were able to do?
Yeah, it's super important, and especially at this level. When you hire a great staff, they're going to get opportunities. And for us to be able to, the entire offensive staff is the same, and really just one turnover. And I think Coach Prawn has brought an excellent, new voice and has fit in really well. And so Antonio really drives that ship. But I think that what you see out of him is like the shared with Coach Mack and Terry and those guys working so well together. It's carrying out that vision like everybody needs to do from whatever the vision is, then that's getting relayed into their position groups. And you can tell that when you see a great defense like we had last year and keeping that standard the same, then everybody's got to be speaking the same language. And I think Antonio's a great communicator. I think that he allows us coaches to coach. He lays out the expectation, and he's super knowledgeable at all levels of the defense, to where he's not just an expert in one thing. He can see the big picture. When you're calling a defense, you have to see, like, he coaches the defensive line. Are we structuring this so they look good, or it's how it all comes together? And he's done an outstanding job.
From a player perspective, no doubt, P.J. Jules was a tremendous leader for you and continuing his professional career right now at the Bengals through training camp. But in terms of other guys developing their voices and starting to become those leaders, just starting on the defensive side, what are you most anxious to see now when you hit the practice field, when you get in these meetings, to see that side of the ball really try to develop who those leaders could be in some of those main pieces?
Yeah, I think we have, quite a few guys that have been in the program. I think Colin Bohannock coming here last year, he's in the middle. He makes your calls. He gets you right on defense. I think he's one of the best linebackers in the country, and he's outstanding in that spot. I think that entire room, honestly, is a leader on our team. When you think from the top guys like, Colin, but how Shug Walker has come in, and Ben Bogle, and the way they go about work, I think if you would ask in our entire team, like, that's kind of the standard about how you act, how you work, the competitiveness at practice, the nature in which we want to play with an aggression and physicality. those guys kind of set the tone. Defensive line-wise, Dewey Green has been here now since the COVID season, and has done an outstanding job from this summer. Maybe top 2 or 3 guys as far as work ethic goes, coming every Saturday, not missing anything, from community service, being at everything we've asked him to do. I think for a 6th-year senior, he's gotten his weight to where we think that he can be a more every-down player. He's done an outstanding job. He obviously has a voice. He's loud and likes to talk, but it's been transitioned into really, I mean, he's an older, mature guy. And so, in the back end, Iverson Brown's played a ton of snaps in this league. Coming from Illinois State, playing a ton, and then here and playing a ton for us, sometimes getting overshadowed stat-wise, but the maturity of Iverson is off the charts. Obviously, Steed played and made a huge impact, and will have to be a guy that plays really up and down the roster for us. He can do so many things. Jameer Khan, being, put into that corner spot, playing as a true freshman, a guy that has tremendous work ethic. And then really the Reeves brothers, too, have been here for a long time. We really have a veteran group up front. We've sprinkled in our transfers and some guys that are new. But when you really start to look at our roster, they may not be all conference players, but guys that have played a ton of snaps for us, from Peyton and Caden have been playing in games now for 4 seasons and been on a part of some big-time plays and series on defense. So some of those roles will grow. I feel good about where we're at on defense.
Switching over to the offensive side, one of the areas why you saw improvement last year was consistency up front with your offensive line. You saw a lot of the same names week after week after week. Where do you feel not only consistency, which some of that you can't control in terms of health, but in terms of depth? Do you feel really good about the depth up front on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, you could probably replay the interview before last season, and we talked about that, just returning guys and the consistency of that, and I think that they proved that. We didn't play as well on offense as we would like to statistically or points. I think obviously the league, the schedule that we play, it's about winning games, and that'll be the same for offensively or defensively. It's about how do we win this game, what's the plan to win. We do have to take better, more productive steps this season in that, but it starts up front. I mean, you have no chance in this league if you are not good up front. I mean, you could have the best skill players in the country, and if those 5 guys or 8 guys are not at a level to go do that or late in the season, you're not going to have a shot. And so we feel really good. I think we're returning guys that have played a ton for us, adding, Noah, who's had an outstanding off season, and the weight that he's throwing around, the work ethic, 700-pound squat. So adding those guys, and then also adding a couple transfers, that are going to really compete. Really you feel like there's going to be 10 guys out there that can compete in training camp. Cameron Dye, had a really good spring. It's going to be hard. So that's what you want to get your team to, like, hey, there's only 5 spots. We feel really good about a few of you. Now it's about who day in, day out is consistent enough to play.
It's been a while since you've had a quarterback competition, and as you know, and you talk about this in your media call, I don't want you to rehash your whole answer there, but sometimes competitions, they can bring out the best in individuals, and sometimes it can split a football team, but you've really admired the way DJ and Hunter both have embraced it. And it's funny because I'll even see them around the office. They'll be around each other constantly. Actually, on our way over here, they were shooting hoops in the basketball arena. What is it about their dynamic? And I shouldn't just point out those two, but just the quarterback room that has you with that confidence that regardless of where it goes and how this plays out, that room is going to set the tone for everybody else.
Yeah, obviously that position, you've got to be good at that position, and we feel like, we have a good quarterback room. And, you saw him coming in my office yesterday when you were down in my office, and just wanted to sit them both down, and we could meet with them individually, but it's like the communication is going to be high as far as from us to them or them to us. they've handled it really well up to this point. I think they both respect each other and know that both those guys know, like, he's really good. I'm confident. They're both confident in themselves. And so that's where I want them to just keep their focus. And things will ramp up. Obviously, spring ball, summer, there's no games. There's nobody's name in the paper or getting interviewed by you or anything like that. That will change. But we're not at that point right now. And it's about just daily going about consistently controlling what you can control. And, yeah, I think that when you see somebody performing at a high level, it raises your game. And so I'm excited about that. It's not going to be our first rodeo as far as how we handle it and the reps and grading it. And, you never know. You might see them both out there. And if they earn that right, then that will happen. And it's our job as coaches then to put together the best plan to win.
It's funny, and it's one of those areas, I know it's an easy way to kind of talk about it in a sense, but you were asked, how do these guys look that are different than Nick? And your answer was, well, most of them look different because they're not 5'8" out there on the field, which speaks volumes of what Nick was obviously able to do as a quarterback. But what's the biggest thing? I know it doesn't really change year to year, Coach Hill, and it was a similar question I asked you a year ago, but what will be the biggest thing you demand from that position as you go throughout fall camp and what you try to do to set those guys up of saying, this is what I want to see from you when we start hitting the field?
Well, I think the number one thing when you talk quarterback play is the consistency of leading your team, and that's making the right plays. That's not always the flashy play. That's being able to operate the entire offense. That's being able to lead your guys. That's being able to, when things start to get chaotic on the field or we're playing fast or in the midst of a drive and there's substitutions going on, like you've got complete control. If you would watch Nick, like, two people are coming off. Hey, LaShawn, you're out. Like this 20 personnel. Like, here we go. One guy's maybe alignment's just off. He's correcting that. So it's complete command, and you'll find that out as we continue to go. So it's really command, and then it's cherishing the football. It's putting our team in the right spots, and then after that, they go and become who they are and make plays and obviously throwing the football and completing it at a high level. But it really is cherishing the football and taking care of that thing and getting our guys pre-snap ready to go. And that's total command of the offense.
It says a lot. Think about your team. I ran the Noah Finsky about a week or so ago, and Noah said, Luke, like, I'm telling you, our skill guys that we have are so talented. And he couldn't even keep the grin off of his face from what he's just seeing this summer. When you look at that receiver room, when you look at the running back room, I know the tight end room as well, there are some familiar names, but also there's a lot of names that are gone, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't guys coming in that can have that type of level of production or surpass that. Where's that confidence coming from guys like Noah, from what they've seen, what you guys have seen, that you feel really good about those rooms specifically?
Yeah, I think because they just are around each other every day. Obviously Noah feeling that way is just watching them, watching OTAs, watching the summer throwing sessions. It's, our job is to recruit at a high level and bring guys in. We identified some areas that we thought that we needed to get better at. Or replace somebody that's really good, and so they need to be at that level. And so we feel good about our skill players, as good as that we have. Now, we haven't done anything, so that's where those names will emerge as we start to play, and they earn that, and they go to perform when the lights are on. They don't give any points out or anything, for summer OTAs. It's about us doing that now, and then once we get into the season. But, a lot of excitement and confidence in the rooms that we have at those skill positions, as probably as good as we have. You see some preseason, that's what I tell them, you don't even look at that. Like, some people don't even know who you are or that you're on this roster, but they can quickly find that out once we start playing games, and how your season goes is ultimately what matters. And so we do feel good about the skill positions that we've brought in.
Coach, I know there's going to be many more conversations that we're going to have throughout fall camp. We appreciate the time here before you get started tomorrow. So appreciate and look forward to hitting the practice field with you tomorrow.
All right, appreciate it.